Hi, I'm Dr Amy Benstead and I'm a senior lecturer in fashion management. Imagine walking into your favourite clothing store or unboxing your latest online purchase. But what about the story behind that item? Today, we're going to unravel the dark threads woven into the fashion industry. Let me start with a question. Have you ever thought about who made the clothes you're wearing right now? Where and how were they produced? Let's dive into the hidden side of the fashion industry, a side many of us rarely consider. The fashion industry is incredibly labour-intensive, and we must consider the social implications. Modern slavery and exploitation are critical challenges within garment manufacturing. Often, those making our clothing suffer from poor working conditions, underpayment of wages, long hours without proper breaks, and a lack of job security. Yes, slavery still exists today, but it has evolved. Modern slavery covers various forms of exploitation, including forced labour and human trafficking. And it's not just happening overseas, it's right here in the UK too. The latest global estimates from the International Labour Organization reveal 28 million people are trapped in forced labour. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 8 aims to ensure decent working conditions to end forced labour and modern slavery. So what is being done to achieve this goal? The UK Modern Slavery Act of 2015 requires large companies to publish an annual transparency statement addressing exploitation within their supply chain. Unfortunately, the consequences for non-compliance are minimal, and the quality of these statements varies significantly. Regulation of the fashion industry continues to be fragmented and largely reactive, whereby changes tend to be incremental. Detecting and remediating modern slavery is difficult. Audits can help, but they're just a snapshot in time. An audit is a kind of inspection which often focuses on the health and safety within a factory. Modern slavery expands the scope of an audit. One crucial aspect often overlooked is the importance of worker voice in the fashion industry. While many factory audits include interviews of a few selected workers, these are primarily used to detect red flags rather than genuinely understand the workers' conditions. To truly safeguard workers, we must listen to and value their voices and experiences. The power imbalances between retailers, factories, and workers are stark. A worker-focused approach is needed to address this. Companies must accept that improving transparency and developing a worker-focused approach involves significant costs, but such investments are meaningless without ongoing internal reviews and changes. To raise industry standards, all stakeholders, retailers, suppliers, policymakers, and consumers must collaborate. We also need a change in mindset where people value clothes and the people that make them. Modern slavery might be present in every supply chain. There's no quick fix. We need a multi-stakeholder approach that prioritises workers' perspectives to drive necessary changes and remediation. So, next time you buy a piece of clothing, think about the people who made it. Demand transparency from brands. Support ethical practices and ethical clothing brands. The clothes you wear tell a story. Let's make sure it's one we can be proud of. Together, we can weave a future where fashion is not just a statement of style, but a statement of our values. The fashion industry is built on the back of widespread exploitation of both people and the planet. Together, we can push for a fashion industry that respects both people and the planet.
If you're listening to this talk, the chances are that you're already interested in the fashion industry. I'm sure you already know that shopping has never been easier. Every year we buy millions of items of clothing, and these clothes are not designed to last or even to stay on trend. Every year, millions of tons of textiles end up in landfill. It's difficult to know what to do about this. It's estimated that £140 million worth of clothing in the UK is sent to landfill every year. Currently, only 1% of this discarded textiles is recycled into new fibres and fabrics. But there is hope. The circular economy offers us sustainable solutions by helping us rethink how we produce, consume and dispose of textiles. This is what we're looking at and working towards at the University of Manchester. And this is what my project, Game Changers, focuses on. Textile waste starts with our shopping habits and what we buy. We buy more clothes than we need, and we often discard them after just a few wears. This take, make, waste model strains natural resources and fills landfills. The life cycle of garment is short in this current system. But what could we do to extend it? The circular economy reimagines this life cycle. Instead of the linear path we've been following, we create a loop where textiles are reused, repaired and recycled. The circular economy is about keeping products and materials in use for as long as possible. It's a system that benefits businesses, society and the environment. By adopting circular practices, we can reduce waste, lower carbon emissions and conserve resources. A helpful tool in transitioning towards circularity is the R-ladder. The R-ladder is a helpful tool to guide us towards more sustainable behaviours. It starts with the most impactful actions at the top and moves down towards the less impactful ones. Due to the extent of the problem we're facing, we need multiple strategies to tackle this, which include dealing with the waste we currently have, as well as creating less waste as we go forward and move into a circular approach. We are often familiar with the reduce, reuse, recycle, but there's much more to the R-ladder, and it's more important than ever now. We need to explore these strategies on the R-ladder that help us move towards a circular economy, extending the lifespan of garments and changing the way we consume garments, extending the lifespan of products and parts through reuse, repair, refurbishment and repurposing. But what could this look like? This is what we're currently exploring in our work here, what it looks like to reimagine these business models, to inspire behaviour change. We also have incoming legislation which we expect to see in the next few years, which will impact the fashion and textile industry. Extended producer responsibility and the waste prevention programme in the UK. We've already seen France have their anti-waste bill and new label legislation, particularly for fast fashion. So it's clear that this is both important and a timely issue. Here in the UK, we have our Fixing Fashion report from 2019, which highlights the importance of circularity in fashion, along with recycling strategies, and acknowledges the importance of education for primary school aged children as a way and a strategy to accelerate behaviour change. So how can we do this? Education is key to driving change. When communities and individuals understand the impact of textile waste, they are much more likely to adopt sustainable practices. We run workshops here at the university and in the local community to teach people how to repair their clothes, how to remake and repurpose garments, as well as learn about other sustainable strategies such as swapping and recycling textiles properly. This is using our Game Changers workshop, which takes redundant sports shirts and teaches participants how to make them into a simple bag. This creates opportunities for both upcycling and upskilling. The reason we focus on sportswear is due to the number of sports shirts that we see appear every season. And the problem with these is that it's usually polyester fabric, which is essentially plastic and takes around at least 200 years to decompose. The Game Changers is about empowering everybody to make a difference. Learn about fabrics, learn what things are made from and where they go. These initiatives not only reduce waste, but also foster a sense of community and shared responsibility. We want to get as many people as possible learning about the impact of garment waste and the simple strategies that can be used to tackle this. Each one of us has the power to make change. By embracing the principles of the circular economy and climbing the R-ladder, we can reduce textile waste and protect our planet. Like most things, it's easy to start with small steps. Wear things that you have for longer. Repair where you can. Refuse fast fashion. Shop second-hand. Or participate and join a clothes swap. Try Vinted or eBay if you haven't done already. Share your clothes with others. All these small acts start to contribute towards a circular economy and keep clothes in circulation for longer and out of landfill. The work we're doing is about community education and driving behaviour change. It's a long game, but we believe it has the power to make a difference and that together we can create a sustainable future for generations to come. So join us here at the University of Manchester to become part of the solution.
You've heard from my colleagues already about the dark side of the fashion industry. And I think it's really easy to get very depressed about it all and start to think, well, what difference can I make when this is a huge global issue? Amy and Lindsay have talked about the human and consumption impacts of fashion and some of the possible solutions. I'd like to talk to you about how science can also help us with fashion industry problems. My name is Jane Wood, and I trained as an industrial textile technologist. I've worked all over the world in textile and garment manufacturing and saw firsthand some of the devastating impacts of the fashion industry on the environment. It's really not a myth. If you want to know which colours will be fashionable next season, take a look at the colour of river water near textile manufacturing factories. But textiles and clothing can also pollute the environment in other ways that are a little less visible. As well as the coloured pollution from dyes, there are lots of chemicals that can get into the environment through liquids that are colourless, and therefore we can't see that they are in the water. Other pollutants are in the air, invisible to us, but we can breathe them in without even knowing about it. You might think that once textiles are produced, that's the end of the pollution, but sadly it isn't. Tiny fibres break off our clothing when we wash and wear them. And sometimes you might notice these, but most of the times you don't. Lots of dust in your house is made up of these tiny fibres, also known as microfibres, and these can be very harmful too. We can breathe them in, and they get washed out into natural waterways and end up being consumed by plants and animals, which we end up eating. Lots of research is being conducted to assess how much harm this is doing to us all. And it's all very depressing, isn't it? But we are working on solutions. I'm now an academic researcher and lecturer in fashion and textile technology. And because I know lots about how textiles are manufactured, I've started to work on ways in which we can make textiles to be less environmentally harmful, such as looking at ways in which we can use nicer chemicals and dyes in the production of textiles. One of the big problems is still how much people want to consume clothes. And by that, I mean fashion trends are still popular and fast fashion is something that is still in demand. And I think the hardest challenge is to change consumer behaviour. I think that science is the easy bit. Think about this. If people still want to buy fast fashion and they only want to keep clothing for a short period of time, why do we currently make this out of materials that last forever? Lots of fast fashion garments are made from polyester. Polyester is a synthetic fibre that's very durable and lasts a very, very long time. And one of the reasons that you see piles of clothing in landfill is that polyester doesn't degrade, and the majority of clothing is made out of synthetics like polyester. So, as a scientist, working with lots of other researchers, I investigate new fabrics, ones that do biodegrade easily. If we could make fast fashion out of these, we could still have high fashion garments that we could recycle or biodegrade at the end of their useful life and eliminate landfill clothing mountains. I work on fabrics such as bacterial biofilms, like bacterial cellulose. And what this means is that I use microbes to create fabrics instead of using plants, animals or oil. And it's quite a new area of research, but one that's created some very interesting ideas so far. The great thing about these types of fabrics is that they biodegrade really easily and are not harmful to the environment during their production. As I mentioned, there's lots of work going on in this area, and researchers are looking at making alternative fabrics and leathers from all types of things, not just bacteria, but fruit, food waste and mushrooms. There's still lots and lots of work to do on many of these fabrics before you will be able to buy them in fast fashion or on the high street. But we are making progress. And the more people, like you, who are involved with the development of these ideas will make them reality so much faster. Whoever said fashion wasn't a science, or that science was boring?